Well, hey, Biscuits, just your neighborhood romance author here to tell you how can you romanticize your life this summer legitimately? Like, what are actual things you can do that help you feel like your life that you are living is the beautiful romance novels that you love to live? And it's funny because, like, no matter how much you love romance novels, it is hard to feel brave enough to step into yourself and say, oh yeah, I'm going to romanticize my life. I'm going to romanticize all those mundane things. I'm going to make them magical. You can come over to Patreon and come romanticize to your primal self-care, where you are going to find your happiness, and your romantic, beautiful view on life is just going to shoot through the roof. Because guess what we teach on Patreon? It's like, even if you start off on the $10 a month tier, such a good tier, and if you go all the way up to the top tier, you are going to learn all the natural, joyful ways to primally get back into yourself, to communicate with that inner being so that you are touching the part of yourself that is true happiness and joy. So, romanticizing your life, Biscuits. Now, I write sci-fi and paranormal romantic novels, and I also turn those novels into this awesome filming series that's been so successful over on OnlyFans, which is, thank you for everybody that has purchased a copy of those episodes. And it has taught me a lot about how we view ourselves as women and how we view romanticizing our lives as moms. Like, what a difference it makes as mothers that we give ourselves permissions to tend to our forms, tend to ourselves, and nurture our lives in a romantic fashion, where the mundane parts of our lives that just go by in a blur, you know, that the days are long, the years are short for moms, right? How do we romanticize that so we're actually just juicing every luscious bit out of that gorgeous orange that is our life during this season of motherhood and of womanhood, right? It's such a unique season. It's a beautiful time to be in our femininity, in our divine femininity, and in our romanticized view of the world. So what I like to do is I like to start by focusing on who I am as a woman first. And that seems like both vague and strange and detailed, but really, sit yourself down, you know, put the kids in front of a cartoon, wait until they go to bed at night. I like to do this in the morning when I'm fresh and awake. Sit yourself down and get yourself a coffee, a hot cocoa, a tea, whatever it is. Sit at your dining table and think about what actually brings you joy in life. What lights your passion up? That is how you romanticize your life, right? But you can't start romanticizing your life until you actually recognize in yourself what it is that means to you. Now, for me, I have real tangible things that make me feel like I'm romanticizing my life. I grow a cut flower garden every year. In the winter, I grow herbs in a little hydroponic thing or a little lettuce so that I'm nurturing my gardening instinct year round, and that to me is a very romantic and enticing way to live my life. I live in a pretty urban setting right now, but I still manage to garden and enjoy that romanticized view of my little cottagecore garden, even though it's not at all cottagecore and it's a temporary garden in pots. It works. So sit with yourself long enough to know what it means to romanticize your life, and find those little nibbles that you can bite into that is truly a lush form of your life. Another thing I do is I find a lot of romance and coziness in doing homemaker tasks. And I know that is not true for everybody, but I like doing laundry. I like sitting and watching a TV show with my kids at my feet play and folding laundry. I find that deeply satisfying. I love kneading bread and making delicious food for my family. Like, the amount of relaxing romantic vibes I get from that is just fabulous. And that's because I've sat with myself long enough to know that. And part of what I've worked on this year, which before I would have said was frilly and unnecessary, but I've really worked on the aesthetic of my life. How am I dressing? How am I decorating my home? How am I dressing my kids? Because, you know, I live in my house full time, right? Like, I'm in my house all the time, as most of us are. And am I creating the visuals to tell my brain I am in my fabulous romance novel? And it's made such a difference. It's not that, you know, I've spent a fortune on decorating or anything. It's that I've been really conscious and purposeful over the aesthetics of what I'm wearing, how I'm doing my hair, how I'm decorating my house, what little bowls I'm using to mix food in, or what plates I'm using to eat off of. And I've got to say, it's made a real difference by triggering that kind of subconscious, cozy homemaker feeling in my life of making it easier for me to romanticize my day-to-day life. And it's worked even better than I thought it would at the beginning of this year, when I kind of put this as like, this is something I'm going to put effort into. So sit with yourself and discover all of the joyful things that spark that ability to romanticize your life. I'm going to see you over on Patreon. Come join our wonderful community. Come play with us while we create our primal self-care into something that truly blossoms into just a summer of happiness. I'll see you over there, biscuits.